welcome to my channel. Today we are going to make a video about the history of Botswana. Before we start, I would like you to subscribe to my channel and like this video if you like these types of videos. Now, let's get into the video. The modern history of Botswana began in the 19th century, when a group of people known as the Swana migrated to the area. The Swana were Nguni people who had originally lived further south near the present-day South Africa border, but they were pushed north by the expanding Zulu kingdom. In their new homeland, they encountered other groups of people, including the Kgalagadi and the Koko, who had lived there for centuries. The Swana absorbed these groups into their society and formed a number of chiefs. At the same time, European explorers and missionaries began to arrive in the region. Initially, the Swana people resisted the Europeans' attempts to convert them to Christianity or control their society. However, by the late 19th century, some Swana leaders began to see the advantages of adopting Western ways and cooperating with the British. One of these leaders was Kama III of the Bamangwato tribe, who became a close ally of the British and helped them defeat the Boers in the First Boer War. In return for their support, the British granted the Swana people several important rights. In 1860, they recognized the Bamangwato as a fully fledged state and allowed them to keep their traditional laws and customs. They also agreed to protect the Swana from both the Boers and the Portuguese, who had been encroaching on their territory. This protection proved invaluable. When the Second Boer War broke out in 1899, the British victory in this war resulted in the Boer republics being incorporated into the British Empire as the Union of South Africa. Meanwhile, Botswana, along with Lesotho and Swaziland, had been designated as a native reserve, a term that is now considered offensive. This meant that these areas were closed to white settlement and were supposed to be protected from the worst effects of colonialism. However, this did not prevent the British from exploiting the resources of Botswana. They built railway lines through the country to transport minerals and other goods to South Africa, and used the vast grasslands for cattle ranching. The British also introduced a system of indirect rule, which involved using local chiefs and councils to administer their territories. This system worked relatively well in Botswana, as the Swana had already had a strong tradition of local self-government. Nevertheless, it was still a form of colonialism, and many Botswana came to resent the restrictions placed on them by the British. One of the most important restrictions was the pass laws, which required Botswana to carry a document that allowed them to travel outside their territory. These laws were designed to prevent the spread of diseases such as tuberculosis, and were similar to the apartheid laws that would be imposed in South Africa a few decades later. Another restriction was the prohibition on alcohol, which the British believed was necessary to maintain order in the territory. However, this law was unpopular and led to the emergence of a black market for alcohol. Despite these grievances, the Botswana were generally more fortunate than their neighbors in South Africa. Apartheid was never officially imposed in Botswana, and the British were more willing to grant them certain rights, such as the right to vote. In 1953, Botswana became a self-governing colony within the British Commonwealth, but it was not until 1966 that it gained full independence. The new nation of Botswana was quickly recognized by the United Nations, and its membership was proposed in 1968. Seretse Khama became the first president of the country. Today, Botswana is one of the most stable and prosperous countries in Africa. Its economy is based largely on mining, tourism, and agriculture. The country has a strong emphasis on education, and its citizens enjoy a high standard of living compared to other Africans. Botswana also plays an important role in the region as a mediator in conflicts between other African nations. For example, it played an important role in ending the civil war in Angola and the war in the Congo. And this is the end of this video. If you liked this video, please subscribe to my channel and like this video. Also, check out my other videos. Thank you very much for watching this video. See you next time.